"Miss Wren, my shoes have a hole in them, but please don't tell anyone." The little girl said it so quietly, so carefully, that for a moment Wren Aldgate wasn't sure she had heard correctly. She looked down. Clover Haynes was 4 years old, standing at the edge of the reading rug in room 3 of Sycamore Early Learning. One small foot turned slightly inward, the way children stand when they are trying to make themselves smaller. Her shoes were pale pink, once, now faded to almost white, the left sole peeling away at the toe, the right one held together by what looked like the sheer determination of fabric memory. Outside, November had arrived with cold, wet certainty, and the puddles in the parking lot that morning had been deep and gray. Wren Aldgate was 25 years old. She lived alone in a small apartment on Dunmore Street, where the bathroom faucet dripped and the heating bill required careful monthly mathematics. She had chosen teaching the way some people choose callings rather than careers. Not because it was comfortable, but because she believed in it with the quiet, unshakable conviction of someone who had once been a child who needed a teacher to believe in her first. She made $31,000 a year. She had $42 left until her next paycheck, which arrived in 6 days. She crouched down to Clover's level and looked at the shoes. Then she looked at the girl's face, those serious brown eyes waiting with the particular patience of a child who has learned that asking for things sometimes leads to nothing, so it is better to simply endure and hope someone notices. "Thank you for telling me," Wren said softly. "That was very grave." Clover nodded once, very small. "My mama doesn't know," she said. "She's been very busy." Wren kept her expression gentle and steady, though something turned over quietly in her chest. "Of course," she said. "That's okay. We'll keep it just between us." After school that afternoon, Wren drove to the discount children's store on Halford Avenue. She stood in the shoe aisle for a long time, doing arithmetic in her head that she already knew the answer to. The right size was a children's 7. She found a pair, sturdy, navy blue, good rubber sole, the kind that would last through winter and into spring. $14.99. She stood at the register and counted out the cash carefully. She brought them in the next morning in a small bag, called Clover quietly to the reading corner before the other children arrived, and sat cross-legged on the floor. "I found something that might fit you," she said simply. "Want to try?" Clover looked at the bag, then at Wren. Then she sat down and held out her feet with the gravity of a small person receiving something significant. The shoes fit perfectly. Clover looked at them for a long moment, turning her feet left and right. Then she looked up. "They're the color of the sky when it's not raining yet." Wren pressed her lips together and smiled. "That's the best description of navy blue I've ever heard." Clover threw her arms around Wren's neck with the sudden, wholehearted force that only 4-year-olds possess, and Wren held her, and thought that this was what she had become a teacher for. Not the lesson plans, not the assessments, but this small weight in her arms, and the smell of crayon, and the shoes the color of almost rain. She told no one. It was not a story she needed anyone else to have. What she did not know was that Clover went home that evening and told her mother everything.
Clover's mother was Jessa Haynes, 29 years old, founder and sole owner of Haynes Architectural, a firm with projects across 6 states and a reputation built entirely on the precision and vision of one woman who had started with nothing and a drafting pencil 12 years ago. She was worth, by the most recent accounting, somewhere north of $40 million. She wore good coats and drove a car that was sensible rather than showy, because she had not yet fully caught up internally with what she had become externally. She was raising Clover alone. Clover's father had left when Clover was 8 months old. Not dramatically, not with conflict, just quietly and completely, the way some people exit, as if they had never quite fully arrived in the first place. Jessa worked long hours. She traveled for projects. She had a wonderful woman named Audrey who helped with Clover on late nights, and she told herself constantly that quality mattered more than quantity when it came to time, and she believed it most days. And on the other days, she lay awake at 2 in the morning doing a different kind of arithmetic than Wren's, not about money, but about all the small moments she might be missing. When Clover showed her the navy shoes that evening, holding up each foot ceremoniously, Jessa went very still. "Miss Wren got them," Clover said, "because my other ones had a hole. She said they were the color of the sky when it's not raining yet. I said that, actually." Jessa turned the shoe over in her hands. A children's discount sticker was still faintly visible on the sole. She sat with that for a long moment. Her daughter's teacher,
A young woman making a teacher's salary had spent her own money on shoes for a child whose mother could have bought the entire store without checking a balance. And she had done it quietly, without telling anyone, without any expectation of return. Without even letting Clover feel like a charity case, she had made it feel like a gift between friends. Jessa felt shame and gratitude arrive at exactly the same moment, which is one of the more uncomfortable emotional combinations a person can experience. She appeared at Sycamore Early Learning the following Tuesday morning. Wren was arranging the art table when the classroom door opened, and a woman she didn't recognize stepped in, composed, direct, the kind of person who knew how to enter a room without apology. She was carrying a small envelope and wearing the expression of someone who had rehearsed something and then decided to say something else entirely. "You're Miss Wren," the woman said. "I am," Wren said carefully. "I'm Clover's mother." A pause. "Jessa." Wren went very still for just a moment. Then she smiled and extended her hand. "She's wonderful, one of the most observant children I've taught." Jessa shook her hand and then did not immediately let go. "She told me about the shoes," she said quietly. Wren opened her mouth, some gentle deflection already forming, and Jessa shook her head once. "Please don't minimize it," Jessa said. "I've been trying to figure out how to say this since Tuesday night." She paused, and something in her carefully composed expression shifted, not breaking, just becoming more honest. "I work very hard. I provide for her materially in every way, and I missed that her shoes had a hole in them. You didn't miss it. You noticed, and you used your own money, and you made her feel like it was simply someone looking out for her." She stopped. "That's not a small thing. That is not a small thing." Wren felt her throat tighten. "She asked me not to tell anyone," she said. "She was protecting you." Jessa closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, they were bright. "She's 4, she said, almost to herself. "She loves you very much," Wren said gently. "Children that age don't protect people they don't love completely." The silence between them was the kind that doesn't need filling. Outside the classroom window, the November morning was pale and quiet. Somewhere down the hall, other children were beginning to arrive, and their voices came through the walls like something warm and continuous. Jessa set the envelope on the table. "This is for your classroom," she said. "Supplies, books, whatever you need. No strings, no announcement. Clover doesn't need to know." She paused. "And I want to ask, if you're willing, if we could speak sometime about her, about what she's like here, what she talks about, what she needs that I might be missing." Wren looked at this woman, this capable, successful, quietly exhausted woman who was doing her brave best, and felt something open in her chest. "I'd really like that."
Jessa nodded once. Then, at the door, she turned back. She said the shoes are the color of the sky when it's not raining yet. A small, full smile. She told me she thought of that herself. She did, Wren said. I told her it was the best description I'd ever heard. Jessa Haynes stood in a preschool doorway on a gray Tuesday morning and looked like a woman who had just been handed something she hadn't known she was missing. Wren Aldgate went back to arranging the art table, thinking about $14.99, and how sometimes the smallest acts of noticing are the ones that reach the furthest. Kindness doesn't calculate what it can afford. It sees what someone needs, and it gives what it has. And that, always, is more than enough. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.